HR1 does have an uphill climb, to say the least. So what are we really looking forward to here? You mentioned maybe pieces.
Yeah. So HR1 I think was a very important signal to send that we care about government reform and ethics and campaign finance reform. But I'm a pragmatist, right? And the Democrats hold the House and the Republicans hold the Senate. And Senator McConnell has said he's not too interested in HR1. So we're going to put the pressure on him, but if it doesn't move, then there are a bunch of us, myself included, who are prepared to start breaking off pieces of this bill, right? So my amendment calls for no foreign money in buying ads in our elections. And that's a loophole that's open, that's just crazy. And I already have Republicans who are supportive of that amendment. They are ready to jump on as co-sponsors, turn that into a standalone bill, and have that move through both the House and Senate. So if we can't get the whole enchilada through, we will take what we can get to bring back some sense of integrity to the system.
That said, the vote was still along party lines now. I guess speaking to Republican colleagues about why they didn't support the bill.
Yeah, so I think a number of them expressed concern about some of the campaign finance rules. They weren't so inclined on disclosure, right, of all that money. I think they were concerned about freedom of speech issues related to the Citizens United case. But literally when I presented my amendment, the Republican who was there to rebut me on the floor of the House said, you know what, we agree with this amendment. We support this amendment. So I think that, like I said, it really depends on which piece of the bill we're looking at. The overall bill was along party lines, but there are pieces of it that I think are easily going to stand for bipartisan support. In the top 5, I think. $82 for I mean, yes, I had never been a candidate before. I had never run an election. I had never raised money or donated money to a candidate running. So I was really unfamiliar with the system. And then in order to run, and especially to fill a seat, you realize it requires money. So we relied mostly on individual donations. We didn't take corporate PAC dollars. But then what ends up happening at the very end of the race is all of the super PACs on both sides of the aisle start throwing in their own money. We're not allowed to coordinate with them. We have no control over those guys, and it becomes an arms race. And like every arms race, when they throw in more, we throw in more. And when we throw in more, they throw in more. And it just escalates to the point that I don't think anyone feels good about it. So it certainly opened my eyes and made me very passionate about campaign finance reform.
The president's response last night to border funding, national emergency being shot down in a sense, just with a single tweet veto.
Yep.
Thoughts on that?
Well, it's obviously the first time the president has vetoed a bill in his tenure, and I think it was an important signal for Congress to send both in the House and in the Senate on a bipartisan basis that they thought he was overreaching and that we have to maintain a balance of powers. And now they'll go back and we'll have to see what the organizing looks like to push back on his veto. I don't know if the votes are there. This is how our system works, and he has every right to do it, and we have every right to organize to try and override his veto.
Fight for that funding?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So, unfortunately, the representatives from Michigan and other Great Lakes states have gotten really used to having to fight back and get our funding that we need for Great Lakes restoration. So, led by Senator Stabenow and Senator Peters, a number of the Michigan delegation met this week and talked about how we're going to claw back against that 90% cut. I think we did it last year, and we're going to do it again. And I think I'm really happy because it's a bipartisan issue in Michigan. We are the stewards of the Great Lakes, and whether you're Democrat or Republican, we know that we have to preserve them and protect them. And so it's been a nice issue to work with my Republican colleagues on.
What was really surprising tonight from this great turnout? What was mainly
So I think one of the things I think was really interesting is that Michigan has actually gone from being kind of behind on the issue of voting rights, voter access, absentee voting, to a leader. And that's because we had an election and it was on the ballot. And you can see people asking questions like, wait a minute, I can vote absentee with no reason. I can vote the same day as the election. And it was, I think, great to have someone from the Secretary of State's office to explain to Michiganders that actually, starting in May, the next election that we have, local elections, it'll really be different. And I think that it's nice to be on top.
Can you talk about ways that people in the local community can help to spread the word about why this matters?
Sure. So we got this question in the town hall. How can people in the area make sure there's public pressure to move HR 1? So the most important thing is to send a signal to our senators who are supportive of HR 1, but who need to hear from their constituents that these things matter, right? As a new congressperson, when I get 1,000 letters every 96 hours on something, I pay attention. Same thing with voicemails and calls. Sending that signal is number one. Number two, just spreading the word on social media. Like, hey, this issue of campaign finance undercuts everything we're trying to do. You care about healthcare reform. You should care about money in politics. You know, if you care about prescription drug pricing, you should care about the role of big pharmaceuticals in our election system. So just creating a real mobilization and spreading the word to people that they should be lobbying hard, their congressperson, their senator, to care about the passage of HR 1.
What is the issue that pushing on the security of the northern border?
Yes.
The president is visiting Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the Homeland Security Committee in Congress, and I've been really struck how there's constant conversation about the southern border, which we all care deeply about. But everyone seems to forget that we do much more traffic in goods and services on a given day than almost any other border in the world. That lots of people and drugs come through our northern border, and that we need just as much assistance when it comes to making sure we have Customs and Border Control agents, that we have the resources, and that we need the technology we need to secure our border here on the northern side. I understand the political attentions on the southern border, but I feel like it's been my job in the Homeland Security to be like, hey, we have a northern border, and we deserve just as much attention and resources as the southern border. We can't have a wall because we have something called rivers and lakes that separate ourselves from the Canadians. But added technology, added border agents, yeah, sure. And you ask the Customs and Border Patrol folks, they cannot hire enough people, right? They have a retention issue. And we need to make sure that we actually have agents who are there filling all the jobs, because we need them there. They're our first line of defense. Okay, good to go? Thanks, guys.